Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS TDRIS.
Roger, nice to be in orbit.
Broadcasting from the Forest Tower studio in the mossy creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. I'm Joe Roop, and this is Lighting the Void. Voices for verity in this crazy realm of polarity. Good evening, how you doing? It's Tuesday, January the 23rd, and the night is cool and crisp, and the moon is waxing on into the night. Fire up your chakras, sync both hemispheres of your brain together, and shoot your magical beam of light through your third eye tonight with us as we peer into the void between spirituality and science on this wonderful night. Thanks for joining us. Now, this is a live show broadcasted on the Fringe.fm and can be heard on lightingthevoid.com, which is our website, TalkStream Live, TuneIn, Spreaker, iTunes Radio, and Radio Guide FM, Radio Garden, and more by proxy via the Fringe FM. The TalkStream Live number is, if you don't have any data, you can call to listen. Just turn your speakerphone on or headphones or however you want to do it. That number is 701-719-3971. To call into the show is 501-777-5631. That's 501-777-5631. I want to say thank you all to all of you that have helped us this month donating to the show. Again, I know a lot of people are asking for your money, so that was really cool of you.
On the Fringe FM.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. Don't forget, tomorrow night on the program, we're going to be talking about real science versus metaphysical science. We're going to have Eric Markham, our residential scientist from SOR. We're also going to have R. Keith Andrews, who's going to be joining us to talk about metaphysical sciences. And we want you to call in and share your stories. So tomorrow night's going to be cool. So make sure you come for that. All right, let's bring on our guest, Corinne Wilson. I probably butchered that, but she's going to tell me, is educated and experienced in the psychic arts, Reiki, alternative healing, tarot, psychology, symbolic interpretation, Buddhism, 12-step recovery counseling, cleansing and purification, states of consciousness, shamanic soul counseling, Ascension plus Kundalini, rituals, spellcraft, soulcraft, star seeds, spiritual warfare, these are all our favorite subjects, by the way, psychic self-defense, world mythology, hidden history, and many ancient traditions. She is a vessel for the god energy of Hermes, who is her master soul guide, often assisting her in her work and study. She has attained great awareness of her soul, her star seed origins, her past lives, and her missions here on the earth plane. She is a psychopomp, walking between the worlds and guiding souls to the truth of oneness. Her website is occultpriestess.com. Welcome, Corinne, to the program. How are you doing?
Hey, Joseph. It is great to be here in Lighting the Void. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I would love to give a shout out to my friends, if you don't mind. I'm
Absolutely.
an Aquarius. My astrologer, Susan Mayorga, and my friend Junan Gesner over in Ohio listening, and Joshua Bowling also listening. And I think Bradley, Jupiter Moondoggy, is also listening. All right, thank you.
Everybody's got such cool names. I want a cool name.
Roop is cool. I think we got to look that up.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Let's get rolling. Let's take all the veils off tonight. Let's do the dance.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, here's the thing. Like, I wanted to talk to you. Usually when I do a show, I title the subject matter of the show, and then I say, this person's going to be on here, and we're going to talk about this. Now, after talking to you on the phone, though, there's so many things that we could talk about with you. And that's why I just wanted to leave it under the guise of the occult, because that's been a hot topic this week for a lot of radio shows. And I think when you hear that word, a lot of people cringe, or they think, either devil worship or secret societies, or, like world takeovers, hidden dark rituals that are only, trying to make you sick with curses and stuff. You know what I mean? And that's... all it really means is hidden, and there's such great knowledge there, and you're full of that.
Could it be Satan?
Yeah, like on Saturday Night Live. Yeah.
Exactly, the church lady. She and I have a lot in common.
That was funny. I remember that. But that's true, though, right? Like,
totally.
We don't take responsibility for our own bad actions or anything that we don't agree with. We just say, the devil did it. That's the devil.
The scapegoating. Yeah, and I believe that started in the Abrahamic religions back in the day.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, the occultist and anyone who's been different or on the fringe of society has always been scapegoated by those who are more popular.
That's right. Now, did I get your website right? Make sure I get that right. I want everybody to know what that is.
It's occultpriestess.com, and I'm occultpriestess@gmail.com. So
okay,
it's
cool.
my brand.
And have you been into this? I always ask everybody this, what happened to you in your life that changed your paradigm? But your story's a little different. I mean, things started happening to you when you were a child, right?
Yes, I was born into the darkness. And we are all born into the darkness in one way or another, under a veil that we don't remember our past lives, that we don't have conscious contact with our soul. But what I did have was an open third eye. And in every time I've been incarnated, in every lifetime, I took a vow to always see. It's a sacred vow of the soul when you're incarnating on a planet to help the people. And that's what I did. So I saw. And what I saw revealed more than most have had revealed before them. What I had was an epic case of sleep paralysis with a boogeyman feature.
Oh, no. Really?
Epic. Yeah, because I can remember sleep paralysis as some of my first memories ever. They were peak experiences, even though they're negative experiences. Spooky, guys. Sleep paralysis is very spooky, if anybody doesn't know and hasn't heard of it. So I did see beyond the veil, even as a child, not just in my dream world, but in the real world. When people were being honest and loving, I really gravitated towards those people, but that, again, was very rare. So you're just talking about a star-seeded child, someone who's not originally from this planet. I believe that we are born in crops of souls, if you like, to say a crop is a group, okay? So group souls. And Earth, Gaia, she has her own group soul. And they're what some of the older souls would call new souls. And we came here from the stars to help this whole crop of wheat, because you're just talking about the new wheat. So amazing.
That's right.
This whole crop of wheat. Because in Egypt, we speak in plant language. We speak about the soul as a plant, as a flower. And the wheat is actually symbolic for the golden soul that has realized itself and reached enlightenment.
That's so cool.
And that's why we're here. We're farmers. We're soul farmers. You get it? That's why we're here. We want the wheat.
Well, everybody's separated by religion and ideas and things, and I've always, the more I've looked into this, the more I've thought it's all the same message. Even the Christ message, it's like, I really think that we got it all wrong. And if you read even some of the Abrahamic stuff, they talk about, there's a lot of stories about agriculture and farming, and I've always looked at that as metaphors, not actual things that really happened, but they're things where, you're harnessing your the soul out of the soil of your body, or you're trying to, the alchemical process. It's what it all talks about.
And also, Hermes taught me, because I don't go Abrahamic very often, but he taught me about King David and the building of Solomon's temple. He's like, that was not what you would call the real temple. It's like a physical building. Maybe it's a representation, but that's not the point. We are building the light body, which is the golden soul, who can traverse, even if you're in a body, you can traverse the universe. You can travel the universe consciously. This light body is what kind of already says you've graduated. Many of us here have graduated the lessons of Earth, but we are here to teach. And people like you, people like most of your audience, were born with eyes to see and ears to hear. That's Hermetic. And because you can read a text in the Bible and see what's really there and say, wow, that's a metaphor. And Hermes is always, my spirit guide Hermes is always saying it's all a metaphor. And to read between the lines, because taking things literally is third dimensional thinking. And he calls that the boxy brain.
Wow, that's really cool. Now, so Hermes was also called Thoth as well, right? I mean,
You're going to get an argument with me there.
Well, that's fine. I'd love to talk to you about that because it's always confused me. I've got many names, Hermes Trismegistus, thrice born, and some people are saying, well, it's the same as Thoth, and I'm like, well, if it's the same, why do they call them that two different names, So what do you think about that?
Well, I do have personal information. If you believe in channeling, if you believe I even talked to Hermes, then you can believe that I know his story. His story and my story come into alignment in many lifetimes. In Greece, he was known as Hermes Maximus Trismegistus, the thrice great.
Okay.
Now I can tell you, as a reincarnation, Hermes and I began our living journey in Egypt together. It's possible that he was in Atlantis without me. I was not in Atlantis. But in Egypt, we took on the roles of an Isis Osiris priest and priestess, which in modern terms would be like maybe king and queen. But back then, it was definitely the priest class and the ruling class were the same class because we were teachers from the stars, you understand. It wasn't about the hierarchy that we have nowadays at all. It was about loving star parents and cute earthlings, A lot of love happened in the mystery schools. And so we came in under the teachings of Isis Osiris, Nephthys, and Set, these 4 archetypal teachings. And when it was our turn to incarnate, we took the torch, the flame, and we did our job. And then we passed it on to the next people because we weren't the only star people. Obviously, Thoth was here incarnated in an older teaching. Thoth is very much original Egyptian from Sirius. The teachings of Isis and Osiris are from Sirius, the star system. That is my star family. And Hermes is originally from Sirius B. But we came in to teach in Egypt. And then as priest and priestess, we also got to graduate. We got to graduate away from the original teachings of our Egyptian star family and to create our own teachings and bring them into a new incarnation with us, where we would teach as priest and priestess again, only we got to write our own script. So we were terribly excited. And that's how we started Greece and Olympus.
That's so cool. That is really cool. Yeah. Now, have you read the, which I don't know if it's channeled material or not, but the 12 Emerald Tablets of Thoth?
I haven't read them. I listened to them. I listened to most everything, but
you're just like me. I didn't read them either. I listened to them as well.
I used to read a lot, and it's like, no, I learn better if I'm hearing it because it gives you more of a human connection.
Can I tell you something that I already talked about with everybody, but I really want to tell you this since you're here?
Please.
The third, okay, so I told everybody about this story. And maybe you can help me with this. When I was doing a side job, painting a house, it was like 3:00 in the morning, and that's what I was listening to was the Emerald Tablets of Thoth over and over again as I'm going through all by myself painting this house. Well, I went outside just to have a break, and I looked up, and a really bright star in the sky seemed to wheel around like a spotlight and beam straight at me. And then it wheeled back around. It wasn't a pulse or anything. It looked like a police spotlight. And I was thinking, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't see the beam, but it definitely looked like it turned and looked and then turned. And I was thinking, is that thing looking at me or is it just looking at the world or what? But that's really weird. I've never seen anything like that. And it just so happened to happen when I was listening to that material. So I don't know if you have any idea what
happened. Huh?
Right. Yeah, and I don't even know what star it was. I know it was one of the brightest ones in the sky. I know that. Back then, I didn't know anything about the stars, I was just reading this stuff.
Oh, yeah, they're reaching out big time. So really, honestly, the question you have to ask yourself, the most important question is, how did it make you feel?
It made me feel like, when that happened, it made me feel like I was on to something, like some type of validation. That's all I really felt.
That's big. That's huge when you're coming from the void, right, into some light. Bam, right on your face.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's, I mean, I don't know. I just had to bring that up now that you were talking about that. But thanks for
Well, I
clarifying
want you to
that.
know, yeah, when high strangeness happens, I actually have a word for it. I call it the cosmic wink. It's when I think God comes through and winks at you or smiles at you and tries to have a little laugh with you and say, hey, remember you're my kid. And remember this is supposed to be fun.
That's what it kind of felt like a cosmic wink. Like, hey, I
Yeah,
see you. Yeah, you're on the right track. Something like that, you know?
exactly.
Wow, that's really cool. So,
We all get those once in a while if we're paying attention.
yeah, that's true. If we're paying attention, we'll catch all kinds of stuff. So you had a sleep paralysis type event happen to you when you were younger. Were you awake? Were your eyes open? Because I had something similar happen, but I don't think I was asleep.
Yeah, so my sleep paralysis, we could just say, started at birth. I was in the hospital for the first 3 months of my life. It was touch and go. So I think I had a shamanic death, basically a shamanic death, if anyone's Googling, as a child, as a baby. And that put me on the other side and here at the same time. And so that helped me keep my vow to always see. And we had attachments in my family line, my bloodline. We had spookies called ancestors that were trying to push the real world agenda. Like, okay, I'm going to have to start at ancestors. All right.
Okay.
So, I chose to be born into a very sick bloodline as a star seed so that I could heal the bloodline from being in it. You take on the karma of the blood, right? I think it talks about that in the Bible with the sins of the father and all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the power of a star seed or a bright soul in general is to heal themselves first. And when they truly heal, whether they have offspring or not, everyone that came before them in that bloodline will be healed or transmuted. It is a universal law and it must happen. And that's why a lot of us chose very abusive, very dark, very horrible families. And many of us also had the sleep paralysis or were attacked by demons or even tempted by demons in many different ways. And I am saying demon from a very educated point of view, not just a spooky woo or dead person.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, so yeah, I've talked about it. I always thought that like kids were, maybe just because it happened to me, but I hear so many stories of horrific things happening in childhood. You know, when you're a child, you don't get all this stuff in your brain to scare you. When I was that young, I wasn't allowed to watch really scary things or anything like that. So it wasn't, that's what confuses me. Like, it wasn't a psychological thing, but I was attacked by just all kinds of stuff in my bedroom when I was little with my eyes open, freaked me out.
Exactly. It's nothing that you could have imagined. And that's how we could prove to the scientist, that, hey, man, we're in a matrix and there's some evil stuff here, but I don't care what the scientist thinks. You and I know we had an experience.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's true. That's absolutely true. So, but now when I'm older, now when I get sleep paralysis, I'm like, oh, great. This is great. I think I'm about to have an out-of-body experience, maybe, if I get the vibrations right. But back then, when it happened to me when I was a kid, it didn't happen to me the way you're talking about, but close enough. I told you the story on the phone about the old scary lady-looking thing that was always after me,
Yes. Yeah, and I had a shadow man, or I just called him the boogeyman. But if anyone wants to see my whole story about sleep paralysis, they can watch the film/documentary, The Nightmare by Rodney Asher. It's really amazing. It's me and 6 other people and all talking about sleep paralysis the whole time.
So as a child, these things happened to you and you started going down what road? Did you immediately try to find a sect or a cult or a religion or something that you could relate to? Like, what do you most relate with? I'm not trying to say pick a religion, but what do you most relate with as far as your spiritual practice goes?
Well, in childhood, I was raised in a cult known as the Jehovah's Witnesses. And it wasn't until I was 15 that I realized, oh, this is not my religion. And then I found Wicca, and Wicca was what put me on my path, really, of independent spirituality. I was always probably the most spiritual person in my family. I'm the shaman. You know, we are Cherokee. I am the shaman of the family. And it should have been known that I'd go my own way. But even as a child, little clues from my grandmother, she would tell me that I was a witch. She would just say really weird, dark things. But again, she was a Jehovah's Witness, and that was a form of spiritual warfare, training me for my future. I kind of forgot where I was. Oh, what am I now? Now I'm a lot of everything. I love the Hindu spirituality for good, like soul food, soul medicine. And I am a Buddhist officially, like I had a guru and everything. And I still like Wicca. But really, I am an alchemical hermeticist because my main goal is Hieros Gamos, divine marriage, is to become full and whole and enlightened in this lifetime and in this body.
Wow, that's so cool. You know, I hear a lot of people talk about alchemy, and to me, it's one of the biggest mysteries in a lot of text because there's so many symbols that mean so many different things. And you know, I've studied alchemy as well, but what is your interpretation of alchemy?
It's cute. I mean, you can study the science of alchemy, but I know more than most alchemists on the planet because my spirit guide is Hermes, the father of alchemy.
Right.
And he doesn't take me to show me the maps and the elements. And like I said, we teach mostly in gardening terms. He does bring up metals like magnets and light and phosphorescence and what those things can do. But I don't have the education or the background to truly understand what he's telling me. When it comes to the emotional, so I mentioned before, he says when people are stuck in their head, he calls it the boxy brain. And then the opposite teaching of that, or can't say opposite, the complementary teaching to that is the arty heart, the expressive heart, full of art, right? Creativity, expression. So that's where I'm going with this, is that the heart, it transverses all metaphor, all words, and anything structural in the third dimension. The heart is the cosmos.
Wow. Yeah, there's no way to just say, okay, guys, this is what alchemy really is. You know, it doesn't seem like it's that easy to explain, but it is.
Yeah, sure it is. It's from going from soul. Your soul is a piece of lead, or like the Solomon's Temple, we cobble each stone through each lifetime to construct a light body, Solomon's Temple. So both of those points are the same point, right?
Right. Yeah, thank you for elaborating on that. I appreciate that. And so the tools of the trade. Well, before we get to the tools of the trade.
I'm sorry, I lost my train. It is the lead into gold is the whole story of alchemy.
Yeah, turning
and
lead
that's
into gold.
The soul. Yeah, the soul is lead, and then it transmutes into gold through many lifetimes of growth. Or, I mean, some people have reached enlightenment in one lifetime. If you believe Ramtha, the teacher, Ramtha said that they reached enlightenment in one lifetime and then stuck around to teach, and Ramtha is now channeled through a lady called J.Z. Knight.
I did not know that. That's really cool.
I like Ramtha, actually. Yeah, very Aries, like extremely, like the whole archetype of Aries is wrapped up in Ramtha. Very empowering for the Aries male, even though it's channeled through a blonde chick.
So when I look at all the stuff that you talk about doing, if you could put that all in one, I guess if you had to put it in a box, we're talking about energy here, aren't we? You know,
music more
like music,
in a sense. Yeah, I think music carries most of the components to be a good metaphor.
Cool. So you
when we're talking about light, sound, and vibration, we're usually talking about music of the spheres, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and isn't it cool that the planets make their own they make their own sounds or their own different notes. You
Just
know,
like whales and dolphins and people.
yeah, right. And I try to talk to, I've tried to talk to people on the show about like astrology and things like that, but I can never really explain it. Like John Anthony West did a good book called A Case for Astrology, but if the moon does so many things or corresponds with so many things that happen to us on the earth, it would be obvious to think that all the other planets are kind of influencing things as well. I mean, wouldn't you think?
Most definitely. You really bring up the great beginning points. Like, first start with the moon controlling the water, and not only the water in the oceans, but the water in our bodies. That is the most obvious first point that we can look at astrology and say, that must be real.
Right.
And also, I might be able to twist my astrologer's arm. She's a great chick. She's also very beautiful, and she could come on the show.
Yeah. We have a call-in number, like usually after the first break. You talking about later or tonight? What are you talking about here?
Either one, man. Her name's Susan. I gave her a shout out at the top of the show.
Cool. Yeah. I see that you use the tarot too.
I've been using the tarot as long as I've been Wiccan. So I was like 15 when I got my first tarot deck. Maybe it was 14.
Do you have all the different tarot decks, or do you just stick to one?
I got about 20 of them, but I usually stick to 2. Unless, a client has a special need. Like if a client is a past priestess of Isis like me, I'm going to do special need cards with that person.
Gotcha. There was a question in the chat room by David J that was asking about channeling, I think, or
David.
How do you communicate with I guess he was saying the souls? I missed that question. I'm sorry, but when you're channeling, does it just happen, or can you initiate it?
Oh, I can definitely initiate it, but I'll just tell you about how I started channeling. When I first started being a psychic and everything as a teenager, I read about the people that went into trance channel and let something come into their body. Very like 1800s spooky stuff. I was like, no, I'm not going to do seances. I'm not going to talk to dead people. That's just not me, even though I am very gothic. All right. I wear black every day pretty much, but I don't like the spooky stuff. Obviously, I'm allergic to it. I had a boogeyman. I know what that stuff really is. So why would I dabble in it? But when I hit age 30, I had a classic spontaneous Kundalini awakening, which means there was no veil between me and the other side at all. There was no sense of normalcy. I lost my ego. I could not remember my name. I was seeing through my soul's eyes. I was not a regular human person anymore. My soul had taken over. And I think that, your other guest that you're going to have on tomorrow night or soon.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about Amalia, the one that I had on? Yeah.
Yeah, Amelie. She's amazing. She spoke about that. So anybody who's into Kundalini, please go listen to that show. It's really great. I was blown away personally. And because there was no veil over me, I was guided by a friend even. This is all kind of synchronistic, had to happen at that time in that way. She taught me how to bring Hermes into my aura, which basically all I did was sit on the couch with her and hold her hands. And she said, allow. And I did. And out through my crown chakra, like down through my crown chakra, I felt a presence coming. And then I had a vision of a great, large mountain. And there was like an explosion in the mountain, and like this water came out. And then this spirit came out of the mountain. It was like a wispy, see-through mirage that came out of the mountain. And I knew that little wisp was Hermes, and he had been waiting in that mountain for me.
Do we all have that? Because I'm extremely jealous of I feel like, what if I'm just like the regular human, Neanderthal type person, and I'm not a member of any planet or starseed family or anything like that? Like, I really want to be. That's weird.
No, I know. Now you definitely have like Thor, Odin type energies, and that's Celtic, Nordic type energies. So I feel familiar with you. So you're definitely from a star somewhere. You're not an original Earth being. And you wouldn't be ahead of the show and all the things you're doing right now unless you were meant to be here. And every time I tune in to one of these radio shows on this network, I'm blown away. I'm like, wow, how come these aren't mainstream? Because this is exactly what we need to be talking about.
Yeah, the Fringe FM. Yeah, we're trying to change. We're trying to do things a little bit different. I know you were listening to Project Compass a while ago. You said you really liked that show when they were talking about the giants.
Yeah, they were talking about what's the difference between the Nephilim and these lizard people and what's up with Zachariah Sitchin. I'm like, yes, it's exactly what I'm screaming.
Those are good questions. Really good questions.
Oh, they answered them in the show. It was just so wonderful.
Yeah, it is. That show comes on every Monday night at this time. So, yeah, we're trying to. You know, a lot of people have told me that no, you're never going to find the truth to this stuff. So why do you even bother with it? Why
wow.
do you know? And yeah,
those are original Earth people.
Yeah, I get that a lot, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe you're right, but what if we get closer than anybody else has? That's enough for me, and it may.
It's time.
Yeah.
No, it's time.
You think so, huh?
Oh no, it's definitely the time. That the alarm went off about 5 years ago, but still, we're in the time of the revelation, and that's why you guys are heard. You're just not necessarily seen yet. And I was told through transmission that a lot of us are going to get the ball rolling this year, and we are already, and it's only January. And then next year is when, boom, everybody knows your name, babe.
That's so cool.
Boom.
But
we deserve it. It's okay.
Right. Yeah, you are definitely a cool person, but you're so full of knowledge too. It's really awesome.
Thank you.
It's kind of intimidating because I want to be the cool person that's full of knowledge. But you got
you're like this big warrior guy. You've got such energy to change paradigms. I mean, we could be jealous of each other. Right. Would you like that?
Yeah. Well, I was talking. No, I don't know. That might be fun.
It's a mutual admiration society.
But I was talking to you about the tarot a while ago, and you know, there's so many people that, you know, it's a divinatory tool. If you're going to do, I believe, if you're going to do divinatory things, absolutely, the tarot is a great tool to use because it's got, you know, the arcana and everything in it. But from what I've read about it, it wasn't originally designed for divinatory things. It was designed to teach you the great work and all the steps through it. Now, do you agree with that? I'm pretty sure
that's Jewish Kabbalah. Yeah, I think you're talking about Jewish Kabbalah. I've never done the Tree of Life tarot going through. They set up the tarot as if it is the Tree of Life, like setting up a chess game, right? And just leaving it in the room for a month or whatever. And then they go into meditation into each card and they try to climb up the ladder through these pictures. And I know that ladder does not lead where they think it's leading. I can tell you they're going somewhere, but it's not where they think they're going.
Yeah, so the original members of the Golden Dawn, like Arthur Edward Waite, Samuel Mathers, I could go on and on about those guys, the original Freemasons that decided to go down this road. You know, they put the Tree of Life, the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, the Sephiroth, and the paths, and they put a card on each path, as you know, it just corresponded to the planets, it corresponded to the Hebrew alphabet, and it corresponded to the tarot, the 22 arcana of the tarot, absolutely 100% perfectly. But Crowley came around later on and switched a couple cards. So yeah.
Actually, I read that everyone that was in, I believe it was the Golden Dawn, had to screw up the tarot in one way or another. They weren't allowed to just let the secrets out.
Oh yeah, well they had their own Golden Dawn tarot that they weren't allowed to.
Right.
They weren't allowed to.
So everybody came out with they were all like given an assignment, come out with their own tarot cards.
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but they had to screw them up. So
to purposely mislead people.
The strength card. Yeah, we have the strength card with the justice card. Sometimes it's 8 and sometimes it's 11. And that's because they were screwing around with the original. But I read, that originally the tarot was just a game. But I believe something like the tarot definitely came from Egypt because that's how we wrote.
Oh, yeah, sure.
We drew. We didn't write words. We drew.
Yeah, you've been reading You've been reading a lot of the same stuff I've been reading. I forgot about that part. Even Dion Fortune was talking about the mystical Kabbalah and how they said there was only 22 paths when they purposely left the other 10 out, but there was really 32.
That makes sense to me. And Dion Fortune is my lady. I mean, if I was best friends with someone in past life, it'd be Dion Fortune, no doubt.
Right on. Yeah, I got a few of her books. Psychic Self-Defense, The Mystical Kabbalah. So, yeah, those are, Dion Fortune was an original member of the Golden Dawn.
Yeah, but you know what? Let me tell you this little story here, because I feel very close to Dion soul-wise, like we've spoken on the soul plane. So she did join Crowley's OTO, right?
Really?
And yes, she did. And she's also like going to school for psychology, and this is like the very early 1900s. So a woman in school for psychology is like totally insane. And she's writing books and being awesome. Then she meets this young fop, right? Aleister Crowley, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law kind of dude. And she's like, well, I'll give him a chance. Everybody else seems to like this guy. She goes through his whole class of the OTO, which means really strenuous work and thankless work and probably being humiliated the whole time. And then when she's graduating, he's taking her behind the Iron Curtain to tell her the secret that she's been waiting all of these months to hear. And he says, Dion, there is no God. You're God. And with that, she left. She left him. She left the friendship. She left everybody. And she's like, screw you guys. And she started reading, getting into Jesus more. That's what happens a lot when you get burned by the devil. You go straight to Jesus, unfortunately. Like, look at Anne Rice is a modern example of that. Wow. You really want me to?
Well, so is
Doreen Virtue is also a modern example.
Yeah.
There's plenty. There's going to be more.
There was a lot of Golden Dawn members that broke off after that. Paul Foster Case was one of them. They all made their own little groups, The Builders of the Addendum, he made his, but, oh, shoot. Yeah, I forgot about it. We got to take a break. All right. Welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Rube. The phone lines are now open. If you want to call into the show, it's 501-777-5631, 501-777-5631. If you are listening on the Fringe FM feed, don't forget after the show, Spaced Out Radio will be live as well. We are here with Corinne Wilson, the Occult Priestess. And, this conversation is really cool. I wanted to ask you to, and I've asked Amalia this as well. I went to Las Vegas, which is one of my favorite places in the world, is Las Vegas. And the Luxor, I don't know if some people say Luxor, I call it the Luxor Hotel. I've never been to Egypt. And when I went to the hotel, I was around all the statues and the hieroglyphs and everything. And I had severe cases of deja vu, and I felt something very, very familiar. You have any idea what that was?
Well, I believe that they did build the buildings, especially the Luxor, on ley lines similar to Egypt, or at least trying to be. And you see that most of the major cities are built on a grid somehow similar to an ancient grid in an ancient city. And for the most part, we could probably say this goes back to Rome. But the mystery schools, in my opinion, my educated opinion, began in Egypt. And that's why when you look at Egyptian iconography, it's all over the planet. Oh my gosh, I was just watching something from Cornwall yesterday where there's a huge Egyptian library or antique library right there in the middle of town, and the whole building is done up with sarcophagus and eyes of Horus, and it's just like this garish thing in Cornwall, next to all these other little very normal, quaint businesses. But that's everywhere you go on the planet, it seems, and especially here in Hollywood, many of the rich and famous people have Egyptian iconography in their homes. Some people have their pools, like the Eye of Horus. It's everywhere. And you see it, obviously, if you watch music videos or anything like that. So we can all tie it up into the mystery schools, but there was an infiltration. There was a point in history where the mystery schools got inverted, basically, and used for the wrong reasons, control and money and lust. And that's what we see as, Hollywood. Everybody knows Hollywood. So we can just look at that as the new Babylon. And they've been saying that since I was a kid. I mean, that ain't new either. But what is new is the exposure. But I do believe what we're originally talking about is mystery schools. And when we look into the occult and we look into the Golden Dawn or any other group, you're going to find some Egyptian stuff going on in there. And even back to John Dee with his Enochian stuff, the Enochian angels, if you're educated on that, what are Enochian angels really? Could they be demons? Because as soon as you're dealing with angels, you're also dealing with demons. And unless you were born to be a spiritual warrior, you probably shouldn't be dealing with either one. You should just be praying to God.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm getting off my soapbox.
No, you're right. That's a good message because, Paul, I was telling you, Paul Foster Case left the Golden Dawn because they were so fast to jump in the Enochian magic, and he wasn't real sure that everybody knew what they were doing. And even nowadays, we've got young kids and stuff that go into the Golden Dawn teachings, and they want to jump into the Enochian magic and get all the books and start vibrating the names and do all this magical stuff. And they don't know if they don't even know who they're dealing with, And,
and the huge point for me is not everyone has a spiritual calling. If it's a fad, it's completely in dichotomous form. It's dichotomy. It's the fight of black and white. We're back at 3D boxy brain thinking, right? Somebody who wants to go summon a demon, that has nothing to do with transmuting their soul into gold.
That's interesting you say that. So the goetic things, the summoning of demons, it's interesting you say that because I had Nineveh Shadrach on my show, right?
Wow, what a name.
Yeah, Nineveh Shadrach is a guy that does high magic, mostly ritual magic and a lot of Muslim background stuff, but he also knows quite a bit about the Golden Dawn, and he was talking to me about that. And he said, if you read the story correctly, that Solomon in that story binded the demons and put them in a brass vessel. He didn't call them forth and use them for their own reasons.
I don't know.
And I was
Hermes,
thinking, well, didn't they help him build a temple? So that there was some debate there,
Okay, so is David Solomon's father?
According to the story.
Okay. David was the last true king, according to Hermes, my spirit guide. After that, things got corrupted. And so something with Solomon went wrong. And it doesn't mean, just like Judas had a role to play, Solomon, everybody had a role to play because we're in a big play for God, right? That's what all this is, to grow our souls. It's all drama to grow our souls. That's the point. But I can pinpoint Solomon, that there was an issue there. And I can pinpoint also Enoch, that there was an issue there. Now, I haven't fully fleshed that out because I don't even know the full Enoch story. But I have met Enoch and we have spoken, and his energy field was very much of an angel, which, like I said, is just right across the street from devil, or demonic. So the angels and devils definitely fight and don't like each other. And that, to me, is still very black and white, very dichotomous. It's not about oneness and love, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm confused about it. I've read a lot of material about it. This angel is the intelligence of this planet, and, they have this other many angels with all these names under them, and it's like, how did you guys categorize all this stuff? How do you know that this is true?
Right.
There's
and
a
I
lot
think
of
that
names.
angel is right. And I believe that angel is just a new term when they're talking about planets. They're mistakenly saying angel because the planets do have personalities. Obviously, anybody who does astrology knows that the planets are living things in and of themselves, and they tend to influence us as well. So everything's alive. I don't know. Everybody needs to do ayahuasca or trip, open their third eye to understand the connection and how everything, even the stars, are speaking to us.
Do you think that we have to do that? Is there another? I mean, can you do that naturally, or is that?
I was born this way.
I got you.
But, I really didn't quite get the full message until I was 16 and took acid. Then I totally got the message. I was like, oh my God, wait a minute. I'm psychic. That's what this is. Okay.
Right.
I understood. So sometimes you just need a little bit more to wake you up. It's not that big of a deal. Mushrooms are very gentle,
It's been so long since I've did any of that. But I can say this. When I was, the last time I did any type of psychedelic, I was in my early 20s. And it was, it definitely was a life-changing experiment. I think my whole personality changed after that.
Yeah, I got words for things I didn't know how to put into form. On my first time on acid, I saw the dancing bears of the Grateful Dead. I was like, whoa,
That's
what is
cool.
this stuff? Yeah, but it had its own essence with it. And it's not comparable to ayahuasca, who is an actual being who actually speaks to you and counsels you. That's what ayahuasca does. She kind of takes you by the hand and guides you through a tour of your life. And it heals you one way or another, whether it's a dark night or if it's bright day. You still get a lot of healing from a medicine like ayahuasca. And with acid, LSD, you're going to get more of a pow, wake up, and it might not be good. You could have a bad trip on either situation. And because what you are doing is opening your third eye with a crowbar.
And you think that's okay? You think that's okay? People,
Thank God I did it.
That's
through a medicine at age 16, because it taught me. Then a year later, I was reading professionally tarot cards in a nightclub, so I can see how one thing led to the other very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people say, you don't have to do that, or I would never do that, and do it naturally, this and that, but. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if it's even possible to do that naturally in one lifetime for someone that's been
exactly.
I don't want to say dumbed down, but if the thing about the fluoride in the water is true, and all the other things that are going on to keep us boxed in are true, then
and
that
not
makes
just in this lifetime, in the past lifetimes when you were trying to cultivate these gifts, and they were trying to take them away from you even back then.
Yeah, and and dimethyltryptamine is in everything.
Uh-huh.
It's
Do you
in
think that might be a
everything.
clue that God wants us to wake up?
It could be, yeah, definitely could be, and it's
It's
definitely
an
in
ego
everything.
dissolver. If nothing else, no matter how dense or dim the person might be, it's going to dissolve their ego. It's going to turn them into a child again.
Oh, those were good times, weren't they? Time was slower, everything was fun, everything was curious.
And you could jump like a superhero. You could leap and almost fly. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that even oh man, what's that girl's name that I don't know if you know it or not. I think it's like Akira or Akiana that drew the picture of the heavenly beings, and she even said she met Christ and painted the face when she was a kid.
Cool. No, I don't know. That's awesome.
Akiana. If any of you guys know Akiana's last name, it was a really cool story about how she she painted the face of Christ. She went somewhere. This girl was actually missing. Like the police searched for her when she was a kid. No one could find her anywhere. They looked all over the place for her, and she was gone for 2 days. And then she just showed up, and she said she went to this place, and she started painting them as a child, and her paintings are worth, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But as she got older,
I might know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I think I saw her as a teenager.
I forget her last name, but her paintings were based on all those visions. And as she got older, even she said she started losing the visions. Like she says, I know they'll come back one day, but she started losing all those visions. She just didn't see them anymore. Because I guess her consciousness, there's something about becoming an adult, like the Peter Pan story that tells you never grow up, that really works us over sometimes,
Yeah, and I think it's the wanting a career for materialistic gain, not for your own betterment, so choosing a career just to get ahead, a job that you're going to have a really nice home and lots of money, and that's your goal in life, then that's not going to take you down these paths at all. And, sometimes people are mundane, and they're just here to learn lessons about family, about children, and have a little life, like Little House on the Prairie, like a little play. And that's some people. But your audience ain't those people.
No, not for the most. Well, we have some of my audience members that are playing that, but you know what? They hang out here at night because they know something's up.
And they influence the
Yep.
people around them, and they're healing their bloodline. So they're doing a lot of work just looking like regular people.
Right? And, hey, the thing about you were telling me, hey, you chose to incarnate in this lifetime, in your struggle, to heal your generational stuff.
Yeah.
That is... that kind of makes me happy when I hear you say that. And you aren't the only person that's told me that. But it makes me happy because that's one of the biggest questions that I think you and I and everyone else ask ourselves, like, there's no way I chose this. Why would I choose this life? When I'm looking on social media and I'm looking on the TV and everybody's doing all this wonderful stuff. And Facebook, man, to me, that's like a lot of people I know personally. You look at their Facebook page and you're like, that's not how their life is. It's not that life at all. This is a fake representation of this person.
I don't have those friends. For the record, my friends are real, yo.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know people that they're struggling with that, and they care about their image a lot. But where was I going with this? I just started rambling, I guess.
You went to Ego Town, buddy.
Yeah, that's right.
But we're tough. We're warriors. We're badasses. We can take poverty. We can take loneliness. We can take it all, buddy.
Yeah, so we chose this to work this out. That makes me feel better. I hope that's true.
Because you're a warrior. I really want you to know that.
I feel like
You
a
in
warrior
particular.
right now.
You are. You got a big Thor's hammer with your arms crossed saying, come get me, suckers.
I feel like a warrior right now. But so if someone like me, because I'm going to be honest with you, I am afraid to do any of those things anymore, like acid or ayahuasca. I mean, I can't even smoke weed now without having an anxiety attack. They don't even just make regular weed anymore. It's always, like cheese or diesel or death or something. There's nothing normal. So
You do some purple haze. I'm just teasing.
there's nothing out there that doesn't send me into a full blown, like, I guess I'm a control freak. I don't know. I don't like sitting on the couch with my mind racing, but I can't move. It drives me nuts. But what I'm saying is I'm asking you, is for somebody like me that doesn't want to do those things, what else would you recommend them do? Is like just meditation?
Okay, excellent. Well, first of all, although I think everyone on the planet should do ayahuasca, you are called to do that plant, and she will call you when the time is right. So I'm not saying just go take your money and go get ayahuasca, because you really need to be guided to that. Mm-hmm. Okay, part 2, how do you do it on your own? Well, most everybody right now has a twin somewhere on the planet. This is part of the Hieros Gamos teachings of the Holy Marriage of Alchemy. So first thing that people need to do is start talking to their inner other. Inner other. Get to know yourself. Know thyself. Every gendered masculine person on this planet has a female psyche within that speaks to them, that talks to them, that is dealing with them on a daily basis, whether they acknowledge it or not. Usually, now I'm using man as an example, but of course woman is just the opposite. They have an inner masculine psyche. This does come from more modernly Jungian psychology, but I've also heard this is also in the Hindu tradition spoken about. And most of our scientists, of course, got their information from ancient cultures and then just relabeled and reworded everything. So the first thing you need to do is start talking to yourself in meditation. Hello, other self within. How are you? If you want perfect instructions, you will get the book Love Magic, with a K, but it's Love Magic by Laurie Cabot, Cabot, The Official Witch of Salem. And within that book, you will get the meditation that I am speaking about that I did when I was about 16, 17 to see my inner male. And it worked the first time I tried it, this meditation. And I saw my inner male, and he was a Nosferatu. He was very spooky and scary and no fun at all. He is not the kind of man you want to be around. So much so, I have to do an accent. Right. So that was the inner state of my inner state, so to speak. So I had this creepy vampire thing that couldn't even talk. It couldn't even, communicate with me. But like teaching the apes, that wonderful woman in Africa teaching the apes to speak, I taught my animus to be a gentleman. And eventually, through the mirror of many boyfriend-girlfriend relationships, I healed my inner male. And then the Heroes Gamus, the alchemical culmination of that, or pinnacle of that, was Hermes infused with my inner male. So Hermes took his right place, his corrected place, as my inner male psyche. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. It absolutely does.
So eventually your twin, your healed self, will have an inner twin of perfection who is like a god or goddess for the most part.
Wow, that's so cool. I never
so
really
you can
thought
do
of
it through that
way.
kind of, it's kind of like through romantic love. That's how I did it. My Libra moon, we went through romantic love. And that's how I completed the Heroes Gamus. Not everybody's going to want to do that. I'm just an old softie. That's how I am.
Right. Well,
so if you don't want to talk to yourself, there are other instructions of get a hold of Buddha. Get a hold of somebody who you can trust. An ascended master of some sort, Archangel Michael, whoever you feel you can trust. Or if you don't know anybody, start praying to God. Just say God, G-O-D. No words, no names. God knows who God is. And say, please guide me. Guide me to names of an ascended master, or, the angelic realm, wherever you're vibrating, or even a fairy, The inner child loves the fairy realm. So if you're a playful person, get playful. If you're a creative person, get creative. If you are a boxy brain person, get out of the matrix and get into your heart.
Wow, that's really good advice. Thank you for that.
Of course.
Another thing too that Dan Lopez from Spiritual Warrior Today helped me with is I was going through, like, when you got to make tough decisions. And he was like, well, why don't you call a council? And I'm like, what is that? And I said, well, here's what I do. And he didn't really, I kind of jumped in and told him what I did before he finished what he was going to say. And I said, I take and this is something that Napoleon Hill taught me. It was either Napoleon Hill or Dale Carnegie, where you take 5 archetypal people like your heroes, and you sit them at a table, and you sit at that table with them, and you say, here's the dilemma, okay? This is the situation I'm in. And each one, and you think that you're answering for those people, but if you do it in meditation, they will answer you with advice the way they really would in real life. It's so crazy.
100%. I have a name for this. It's so real to me. I call it an interface, right? So interfacing, bring up the face. You brought up a council. You brought up archetypes. You want to call them archetypes, you just go right ahead. You brought up gods. And say, hey, gods, what would you do? And you got 5 different opinions. That is so freaking cool. And I hope Thor will be on your council soon.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I would call on people that were my heroes, too. Even living, kind of. I don't know if that
you can
makes
do
sense
that. No, I was taught by Magenta Pixie. She is an amazing author and YouTube lady, Magenta Pixie, y'all. I'd interviewed her on my podcast, The Cosmic Core, on YouTube. I forgot. I'm advertising. Hello.
Yeah, definitely.
My YouTube channel, you can find Magenta Pixie's interview on The Cosmic Core, where she does say, you can speak to the living or the dead in the 4th dimension. Right. We live in the 3rd dimension. You and I are speaking actually in the 4th dimension right now because we're on radio waves. Uh-huh. It's really cool like that. But the 4th dimension is also the bardo in Buddhism, the place where ghosts go, dead people who can't go to heaven yet, people that aren't done cooking, usually the jerks, right? And then right above that right above that is 5D, fifth dimension, first level of heaven, which isn't the most fancy, I'll tell you, but it's nice and y'all think it's beautiful. Yay, yay, yay. But it does get better even up further than that. But we have third dimension we live in. Then we have the bad neighborhood of the fourth dimension. And then we have the good neighborhood of heaven. But most of us see it's linear. It's like a layer cake. We go through the crown chakra upward into the fourth first. We always hit the fourth dimension first. That's why I saw the boogeyman. That's where your ghost lady is, right? That's where negative ancestors are and demons and all the ickies. And then right above that, there's a veil. There's a separation. No negativity can get into heaven. It's just totally impossible because it works on vibration. And at the end of the story, at the end of the game here on this planet, on Earth, when I say end, I mean new beginning, of course, we're coming to the point where we will no longer have this kind of dichotomy of black versus white. And, you know, this very third dimensional game of Pong will have more the rainbow promise of eternal life, eternal beauty. But not only that, like getting off the planet when you want to and going back to your star system when you want to. And you could just leave forever and never come back. So it's like God is more creative than we ever is possible to give him her credit for. That this journey, this story, this ever unfolding fractal of love never ends.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say to that. But, yeah, so that was really scary for me to even admit that to you on the radio, that I do that, you know. But
that you speak to awesome people in the sky?
Yeah.
That's like, really sad that brings you shame because honestly,
it's just
a
scary
superhero.
to talk about. It don't bring me shame. It's just scary to talk about stuff that I do personally. Like, because does anybody know that Joe Root puts Will Smith at the end of one of his tables in his imagination when he asks a question?
No, yeah, dude, I've had dreams Will Smith was driving me around LA and he's showing me all the houses and the businesses and stuff. Yeah, totally. Will Smith, I don't know why him, but he must be from another planet like us.
and I would even question myself, you know, and be like, well, Will, is this me saying that? And, you know, and Will would answer me in the meditation, be like, does it sound like you would say that? No, it's me.
Exactly.
You know, it's me.
No,
you know,
you can feel his energy. He's so different, especially me. I'm a girl. And he's kind of got this dude swagger about him, like, girl, what you thinking? You know, he's got an attitude. Mm-hmm. And that's how I know it's him. But not only that, my kid is very psychic. And he's told me, Mom, I'm always dreaming of celebrities. They're kind of jerks. And I was like, yeah, you're going to that part of the soul realm where they hang out because we actually live right over the hill from there in Olympus. But they're down the hill from Olympus in Hollywood. But I think they've created some kind of synthetic heaven for themselves. I would call it a synthetic heaven because it's below the actual heaven. And like I spoke to Chris Rock, and he's living, obviously. And he's like, wait a minute, you know you're on Earth and you're here too? You can't know that. And I was like, no, dude, I'm totally integrated. And he's like, that's just not possible. So they're separated from their higher selves or their soul.
You know that I talk about Robert Monroe a lot on this show because, you know, he was the guy that wrote the big books about astral travel. And he would say that when he would meet beings in the astral realm, some of them would run from him because they were like, I don't understand why you're here. How is that possible?
Mm-hmm.
How
we're
are you
a
not
ghost
dead?
To them. You know? Right. Exactly. But we're yogi masters, basically. It's the only way to put it.
Yeah. He even had beings that would run from him because they were afraid he had some type of disease or something, you know? They're like, I don't want to get that on me. You're telling me you're still alive on Earth and, you know, you're here too. That doesn't make sense.
Right. They totally freak out. Thank you for confirming that for me because do you know how crazy it is me thinking I'm talking to Chris Rock, right? But it happens. I talked to John Lennon. I love John Lennon. He's like one of my best friends. For real. He's a father figure.
John Lennon was cool. John Lennon is cool.
Yeah. He's still writing songs. Once in a while, we'll hear, oh my God, that's a John Lennon song, you know, because all the good artists, they channel. And once in a while, we get that on the radio once in a while.
Do you think that we'll ever get past this religion thing that we're doing? I mean, it's 2000 and I'm not saying
2000
religion's
and late.
bad, but it's 2007, 18, and
Late. Yeah.
there's still witches in the East that get stoned to death. There's still people killing each other for the scrolls that they believe are 100% literal,
Well, if you think about a compartmentalized boxy brain as far as just religion, then you're not seeing the whole picture. You got to see the pedophiles. You have to see everything dark at once. War, rape, everything. Religion goes right in that category as a system of control. Everything that keeps us from sovereignty, from self-love and self-care, and from being beautiful communities of loving spirit people. Anything that works against that is working for the matrix. So just think of it all in the simple terms as the matrix, or Maya, Mara, world of illusion from Buddhism. They also called it world of suffering, known as samsara. And we have had a cycle of suffering for thousands of years now, because we, as a group, and stick with me here, as a group of souls, after some point in Egypt, we decided and chose, because it's part of the plan, to lower in consciousness and forget ourselves, and to become a lot more forgetful than, so that we could just get imbibed in this lifetime with these people, so that we could be one of them, so we could take on the karma, so that we could help. I mean, I wasn't giving these kinds of speeches in high school, you understand.
Right, yeah.
There's a timing for everything. And I kept my mouth shut most of my life about very important things, because there's a timing. And so now we did fall in vibration. We had the fallen angels and everything terrible happened. But now we're raising in vibration again, and we're coming to the end of the Kali Yuga, or end of the cycle of suffering. Buddhists take a vow, and let's say it started 2,000 years ago, but it's a bit longer than that. Buddhists take a vow, about 5,000, to keep reincarnating no matter how many times they reach enlightenment. This is known as the greater vehicle in Buddhism. The diamond path, the diamond way of the diamond soul, which is beyond gold, by the way, turning into a diamond instead of just gold. So this is advanced teachings of the Buddhists, and I'm obviously a Buddhist of the Karma Kagyu lineage. With this raising of vibration, the Bodhisattva vow, I will reincarnate every time to help all sentient beings until everyone has reached enlightenment. Well, we're coming to the end. We're coming to the end of the Bodhisattva vow. We're coming to the end of the matrix. So you can see it just as a bunch of black goo going down the toilet, because that's what's going to happen to the darkness. We're no longer going to be stuck in this system. This system is done. And the new humans are here. And the ancient Egyptians are waking up. And I'll tell you, we put our organs in canopic jars. We preserved our organs, and we did all kinds of sacred rituals so that people like me, my soul, could wake up here now to guide the people again like we did before. And I'm not alone.
That's really cool. That's so interesting. Yeah.
I come from Sirius B. I come in peace.
I don't even know what to say right now. I'm like taken back by all this. This is there's just so many things you're talking about that it's validating a lot of stuff that I haven't even talked about on this show yet. But I know that we, for some reason, we incarnated here as Americans in the United States.
Oh, yes. This is the big battleground, my friend.
I feel guilty, though.
Okay, tell me.
Because when I turn on the TV, or when I see the stories about the struggles in the East and all the, in Africa and the children there, and I mean, why didn't I pick that struggle? Why did they would probably rather have my struggle than what, and we don't pay them attention. There's a lot of children being enslaved and slaughtered over there, but they have nothing to gain for the United States, so it's not on the news. We're not doing not that I know of, we're doing anything about it, and when is that going to happen?
What you're feeling is a beautiful thing that you're cultivating like a rose, and the word is compassion. Compassion. that is to be in love with humanity as a whole. And I can feel it in your heart right now. It's so true. It's resonating, this beautiful pink line of truth, like music, like I said. And so you have such love for your brothers and sisters. You really can't stand their suffering. But your struggle is at home and where you were born, because we are put in the places we need to be. We are guided. We are the hermits. We are the teachers of old. And we are put in places on purpose. And that's really a struggle for our ego. I wanted to live in LA since I was 6 years old. I only got here 2 years ago. I'm going to be 44. So there's a lot of things.
There, you know?
I did. Well, eventually I knew that would it'd have to happen because of my visions. You know, when your visions start lining up with your reality, things start to get cool. I call it the fairy tale level, but there's still struggle every day. And there's enlightenment and there's dishes, you know, it's being a whole person. And it's not all the time when I'm working with Hermes and saying, okay, I need to know the secrets of the universe, because I would never leave my room. You've got to have the balance. And part of that balance is tempering your compassion with the work you're doing. You can say, I worked my butt off this week. Hey, wait a minute. I helped humanity this week. And that makes so much more sense than a paycheck.
Yeah, it does. I have such respect for people that do that. There's a lot of people that they've dropped everything they've done and just went over there and made it their life mission. And I've thought about that myself. I really did.
You know what, though? There are a lot of shallow people that have done that, too.
Yeah.
You can't just put it all on one. And that's what you do. You do a lot of categorization, my friend.
Well, I'm always analyzing everything, so I've got to put stuff into categories to do that.
Anal. You're analyzing.
Well, that's terrible.
Virgo.
That's how dirty of you to say that, but that's true. You know, like that's what I'm doing.
It's Mr. Spock. You know, address Spock. You should just bring Spock into your mind as one of your archetypes.
Spock is cool.
Yeah.
But usually I have like, you know, Robert Downey Jr., Will Smith, and then on the other side of the table is Manly P. Hall.
I love Manly. Yes, we met.
Pythagoras.
Dude.
And I put them all at the same table.
I set up Manly P. Hall on a date with Marilyn Monroe in the astral realm. They love each other.
Really?
Yeah, the intellectual and the hot blonde. He was like, holy God, she's so gorgeous. And she was like, oh my God, he's so smart.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was beautiful. But, you know, they went off. I didn't see what happened next.
So, do we all have these same gifts that you have of some sort of type? Can we all tap into this?
Yes, most definitely. And it's really about the heart. The easiest way is the heart. Everybody's like, oh my God, my third eye. And it's all about the third eye. Mm. But really, the key, the secret is the heart.
Yeah, you see that in a lot of even religious temples and stuff. The Sacred Heart, you know, it's in everything. I don't know. I'm upset with religion because I think the whole thing got misunderstood. Like Jesus, the whole Jesus thing got really misunderstood, and it's being used.
Yeah, everybody who starts waking up gets mad at like three specific groups: religion, the government, and the powers that be, whatever, you know. And it's everybody's story. We all have this in common. We've all been red-pilled, dude.
But isn't ignorance bliss a little bit?
Nope.
You don't think so? I don't either.
No, I don't want to live small. If you're going to be ignorant, you have to live small, literally, and go be a farmer, because that's really helping, and I think it's really great. And there are intelligent farmers out there, but they're also very simple people, and all they know is their land and their home and their beautiful family. And there ain't nothing wrong with those people. That's the salt of the earth, and I think those are like the real people who deserve to be here.
The meek, maybe, huh?
Yeah, the beautiful people, really, the small people. But, you know, this isn't the time for smallness. This is a time for change and shifting. I mean, look who the president is. Look what's going on in the world. Look every day. I mean, tsunami warning. I was just talking with my friend in Ireland, and she's like, oh my God, I just had a dream about tsunami. And I was like, I've been using that word a lot lately, by the way. You know, I said tsunami of truth, and then we had that warning within 24 hours of her and I discussing it. And this is happening very often with Earth events and things like that. So it's just a call to what I call the light workers or starseeds, all y'all, that it's time to start putting on your boots. It's time to make sure that you have your ducks in a row and that you're ready to perform your duty, whatever it may be. And it's a good thing to go into meditation and ask your people, your higher people. You could just go to heaven and knock on the door, see who answers, and say, what's my mission? What am I here for? And you will get an answer.
I believe that
If you have a struggle, write it down in a note and put it under your pillow and dream about it.
Did that work? That works, huh? You know, I was just fixing to say, by the way, it's really good to hear someone else say y'all besides me.
Yes. I moved from Kentucky to be here in LA.
But I was just fixing to say that, you know, I've talked about Edgar Cayce, who was called the sleeping prophet. And, you know, people are, you know, you just said sleep on it, put it under your pillow and sleep on it. That sounds like a superstition, right? But this man really did sleep on things like books and other things. And he absorbed all of it and could see so many things and predict so many things. And we were talking about that last week, about his predictions about, you know, the end, I wouldn't say end world times, but some of the stuff that would happen is kind of happening. And then when I saw that 8.2 earthquake and the tsunami warning, I was like, oh no, here goes the West Coast. It's finally going to happen. You know, everybody start running east. Why would I think about that? That's a crazy thought.
It's coming.
But,
it's coming. It's coming, dude. This is the lifetime that happens. I'll promise you. I don't think I'll be in LA when it happens. So just check out where I'm at. And if I'm here, then it ain't happening.
Okay, we'll keep tabs. We'll get a map with a little pin on it and follow you around. That's
exactly. In the Edgar Cayce map, it was actually adopted by the U.S. Navy as the future map of America.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can look it up. You can Google that.
So they kind of know it's going to happen then.
Well, they're partially engineering it, but what they don't understand is God is on top of all of this and playing the entire game. Everybody's God's puppet, even the darkness.
Yeah, that is true. It even says that in the King James Bible. That's the one, you know, how when you get in arguments with Christians, and don't do that, by the way, it's a terrible thing to do, you know.
I don't. I just tell them I love Jesus. About Jesus and how great Jesus is. No big deal. For
so many reasons, it's a bad idea. But there is a scripture in there where, you know, he quotes in Isaiah, I created the light and the darkness, and I created good and evil. I did all these things. You know? That's
right. And it was for a reason. It was for a purpose. Earth is very unique, and we wanted to grow a new crop of wheat. The new souls, the really creative, awesome souls that'll bring out space-time continuums, and like the movie The Fifth Element will become real. Humans are freaking wild, even in this universe compared to others, even from Sirius B. You guys are unique, and we're unique because I'm a person now too. I'm a human now too. So I get to be a part of this tribe and that tribe. But you guys are artists. Every lifetime you lived your art, you breathed your soul art, you came alive. I mean, it was just a script in heaven on a piece of paper, and you guys lived it. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. So what's next for you? What are you working on right now?
One of these days, I'd like to find a publisher who falls in love with me so I can write a few books. But I won't. I get this glitch. I don't want to self-publish. I really would like to just be taken by the hand and taken to the ball as a lady, you know, kind of thing. So I'm doing all these radio shows. But I'm really just following guidance, you know, one day at a time. And one thing leads to another, like the song says.
I will say this about you. You're really outspoken and you're really honest. Like, and when I say honest, like, duh, shouldn't you be honest? I mean in a different type of way. The way I like, where you're not afraid to say anything, you know?
Yeah, I use my ego as chewing gum. I'm not concerned about how I look in that sense. As a girl, I like to look cute and, you know, only go on camera when it's appropriate, but that's because I'm a lady. You know, so I am concerned about my image in that case, but as far as my inner thinking and workings, that is open for everyone. I've always been that way. My heart has always been wide open.
I can tell. I can definitely tell that. And
I'm a good friend to have. I'm a good person.
Yeah,
I really love people. I'm a cheerleader too. Like, come on, let's get this going.
Yeah. You are.
And I'm a doer, not just a dreamer, just like you, my friend.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that something's going to happen. I really feel it. I mean,
it's been happening, though. Have you been paying attention these past few years?
Well, what I'm saying is it is crazy, but the government is finally admitting that they've studied UFOs, whether that was Tom DeLonge's thing or if that was a real video. The fact is they're talking about it, you know?
Yeah. Well, one thing, Hermes, my spirit guide says, disclosure comes from within. And you know that more than anybody. But there's a huge debate if these light bulbs in the sky are ships or if they're beings, and are they fallen angels? I mean, there's too many questions to say, oh, it's a UFO thing. We can't categorize it that way anymore. I think it's got to be blown open into, all right, Nazi scientists, that's one aspect of this, right? But there's another aspect where people are having high strangeness, not just electricity problems, because one step into the UFO phenomenon and you find, sleep paralysis right there, big time, Whitley Strieber sleep paralysis. Mm-hmm. So with alien abduction, sleep paralysis, there's so many similarities that I was like, well, did they have like a think tank in the fourth dimension of the demonic realm and say, how can we rebrand angels and demons and make the humans guess at who we are? How can we remask ourselves? And then they came up with science fiction.
Ah, okay. I see your point there. Yeah. I get that.
Now there's also the confusing where I say I'm from Sirius B, but I'm not an alien. I'm definitely not a gray. And it doesn't matter what I look like on that planet because I'm here right now.
Yeah, like what John's talking. What about the see, I have a hard time with this because there's people talking about reptilians and blue beings and this being from planet Avalon and all this other stuff.
Planet Avalon.
You know, and I've got insiders and whatever. And I'm thinking, man, look, you know, I consider myself to be an out there kind of guy. Yeah. But some of the stuff you're telling me, I'd love to believe you, but I don't know.
Anybody who says they have gone to Mars in their physical body can kiss my butt because it is just not true. It's just not true. And even if you look at the TV series on Netflix by the Wachowski brother sister, the Matrix people that made the Matrix.
Wachowski brothers, yeah.
Thank you. It's called Ascension. And on the very last episode, a spoiler alert, the psychic little girl zaps someone psychically through her third eye to Mars. Was that a physical trip to Mars? No, it was not. She zapped him there through her third eye. Then we could say, okay, maybe there's no physical movement towards Mars. How are these people going to Mars? Their consciousness, their soul car, their Merkaba, their meditation train goes straight to Mars. Why would my meditation train go straight to Mars? What does Mars look like? Fiery, red, and there's always people being tortured, and there's slavery.
And it's could the it planet be of war and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like hell. And I think it's hell. I think they go straight to hell because that's where their soul is. And I know that is like really sad. And I guess, I should be more compassionate. But if you're going to be out there spreading this knowledge, like what you're talking about and calling it Mars and saying, I get in a spaceship and I go there, you're saying enough lies for me to attack you.
Well, just like I was saying, I can hear a truth that I know is the truth without having to prove it. You know what I mean?
It's like discernment. Yeah.
Right. But I can also hear a flat out lie that I know is, I don't know, maybe you believe it, and I don't mean you, but the person talking about it,
Well, I'm very gullible by nature. If people tell me something, I tend to believe it because I don't lie. So why am I looking out for other people to lie? But I am now. You know what I mean? Know thy enemy.
Yeah, it's just I want to be careful about stuff when it comes to that because I think we're in a real sensitive time right now.
It's the time for revelation, my friend, and we're on the right side of history, believe it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people looking for more validation of their own feelings and experiences than they are answers. I think. And I don't know. Look, I'm not saying, guys, that I don't believe in reptilians and stuff. I just don't know. I'm not going to get up here and start talking about it like I do know, because that's one of those things that it's just hard for me to grasp, to be honest with you.
I think that there's something that is reptilian-esque from the Draco system, and that it has come on into our planet in some kind of, even if it's just a fourth dimensional way, and it somehow helps the dark ones. It's on the dark side, and it's for the dark ones. And if people want to call that lizard, that's cool. But when I first heard of David Icke in the lizard thing, I was like, dude, that's a part of our brain. That's the reptilian brain. Everybody has it, just like everyone has dark and light, la, la, la. So I thought, well, this is psychology 101. But then he said they shapeshifted.
Yeah, see, whoa. I was just fixing to say that. Like, they're the reptilian, if these reptilian shapeshifter overlords that are
like what?
that are Masons and part of the occult taking over the planet. Look at this picture, and they show you a face that shapeshifted. I'm like, that's bad pixelation. That's a FLAC file that got messed up.
They get lost in trying to prove it in a physical form, when the people who really, are born with their eyes open, we are born with they live glasses on. We already know. And we already know there are aliens and possibly demons in the sky. We already know. We don't need disclosure from a government or from who needs that, because you are sucking on a tit if you need that.
Right.
And I'm a grown woman. I don't need to suck on tits like that.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. Definitely true. And look, again, I'm not saying it's not real. There's certain things I don't need to prove. I don't need to prove the soul. I don't need to prove interdimensional travel. I don't need to prove any of this stuff. I've experienced it myself. But you know what it is? I think it's the victim thing.
Oh, go on.
The victim thing bothers me.
Go ahead.
Because everybody's a victim of something. Everybody's a victim of the Freemasons or the Illuminati or the reptilian shapeshifter overlords.
There you go, back to scapegoating. Right.
Shouldn't we be responsible for all this stuff we're victims of?
Yeah. First, you take on the crap, which means you're just in it and you're just dealing with it in the best way you can. And that's what grows your herohood or your soul's gold. You deal with it as it comes. Believe me, I've had probably one of the worst lives on record. It's been really, really, really hard. And I still have a great attitude. So I know anybody can do this. And I really get upset when spiritually powerful people wimp out just because they're too lazy. And that's the key. Don't be lazy. Be self-loving. Try to love yourself as much as possible, but don't be lazy. Make yourself do it.
You know what really sucks? Is that the show's over. We got to get out of here.
I had a great time, buddy, and hi to all my friends. And thanks, David J., for the question. I had a great time, man.
Yeah, it was fun. We'll have to do it again, for sure.
I'm around, man.
Please tell everybody how they can find your work again on the internet.
Okay, please direct your browser to occultpriestess.com, occultpriestess.com. And if you'd like, you can email me at gmail.com. I am a professional soul counselor, so if you would like some more help on your path, some more love and guidance on your path, I can help you find that. And just thanks, Mr. Roop, for everything you've done for me.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for coming on the show. This was great. It was my pleasure. Thank you.